Ecclesiastes is my top favorite book for the past, say, 4 or 5 years, I should say. There are a lot of favorites, but this book has become one of my favorites after I started enjoying this book and see that there is a lot of truth packed in this book. And I feel that this book is the foundation for uh, any other truth we may ever learn about either this planet or about God. So I feel this book is the fundamental book. This book has to be learned, studied by everybody, not just people who know God, but people who do not know God also can start here. So I enjoy taking a lot of sessions for non-believers from this book. So we discuss a lot of truths about life and then see how only God um, is big enough to satisfy us. Right. So these are my notes. I'm just going to share. I've shared my iPad screen, so I'm just going to show you around and read some verses. We're not going to read the entire book, and so these are the subdivisions. These are the kind of topics in Ecclesiastes that I have marked. So these are my personal, markings, and so you can follow the blue thing that is, so the 1, 2, 3, 4 that you see, okay, and the color coding, okay. So we're going to start from routine, some verses about routine, and then move on to uncertainty, some verses about uncertainty and things like that, and finally we'll read about verses about satisfaction or what is worthwhile under the sun, and then some verses about God in Ecclesiastes. Right, so let us start, and after I go through some verses in this order, I'll finally would like to mention a few verses that support whatever we see here, and then close with that. Right, so yeah, so some verses about routine we'll read. So most of the verses that I marked are in the first half of the book, so we won't go too far. Right, so from here we can start about routine. Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the stream come from, there they return again. What has been, you can follow the light green ones. What has been will be again, and what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. I think most of the verses are self-explanatory. If I need to elaborate something, I'll let you know. Yeah, is there anything? This verse 10, I explain it to my PhD students. I have 3 of them. Is there anything of which one can say, look, there is something new? It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. Is there anything new under the sun? There is nothing. So verse 9 and 10 makes it clear. So history just repeats itself. Most of it. 9 and 10. So yeah. Yeah, everything in history just repeats itself. So we might find something new, but it was there already in a different form. So it was seen by people earlier. It was kind of mentioned by people earlier. So things just the form might change, but it was there. So some sort of such things were there earlier. Okay, so yeah, so we might see technology, but some kind of technology was there earlier also. So it's just that it has become electronic, and so some things change, but ultimately the core purpose of things remain the same. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There is no remembrance of men of old, and even those who are yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow. A lot of these things are true. So how many of us can name, say, go back 4 generations or 5 generations? I can't go back 4 generations and name people. So we forget. So maybe after internet, we have internet. So maybe some of our future, grandchildren might remember us. We don't know. Yeah, but this is how routine goes. Okay, let's go to the next topic. So most of it is routine. Okay, so what we are discussing is about things under the sun. Okay, so Solomon is writing a lot of truths about how life goes on this planet, right? Yeah. So second topic is uncertainty. Okay. So meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Okay, so there are different words used in different Bibles for the word meaningless. It could be vapor, so vanity. So what it means, most likely what it means is that everything has an end, so so we'll see this in other topics also, that so in its own, things do not have a meaning. So yes, we work, we do something, but in its own, so in work itself there is no meaning. So we have to look beyond work to find some meaning. Okay, so that is what it means probably. Okay, so it's like a vapor, or it's like a soap bubble, I say. So a soap bubble is there for some time, it's nice, but it bursts. It just lasts for a few seconds. So everything that we have in life is also like that. It lasts for just a fraction of time. So maybe few years. That looks long for us, but it is just a fraction of time in eternity. Right? Verse 14. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. So this would be probably the key verse, I would say, in Ecclesiastes. Let me read it again. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Why? Because we can't capture them. We can't say that we have achieved, we have reached the pinnacle of things. I mean, there is no pinnacle. So we might do a lot of things, but there is no end to anything. So, or there is no, like, I have reached, or this is what I aimed for. So, or this is what I wanted to achieve, and I have reached there. There's nothing like that. It's just chasing after the wind. Okay, so yeah, or it's just like a soap bubble. That is what life under the sun is all about. Okay. Yeah. Some of you might say that these verses are discouraging, but these are facts. We can't deny them. Yeah. Okay. So verse 2 here in this chapter. And I declared that the dead who had already died are happier than the living who are still alive. Why? Reason he's giving in verse 3. But better than both is he who has not yet been, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. Because of the evil that is around us, because of so much injustice, we'll see, so as he mentions later. So it's better not to be born than to be born, so, or, I declare that the dead who had already died are happier than the living, because the living will have to go through all the tough days ahead, injustice and struggle, so the dead are more blessed. They finished their race. Better than both, those who are not yet born, who have not seen the evil, are still better. So there's so much uncertainty in life. Yeah. So these are some interesting verses. Verse 19 in this chapter. Man's fate is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Man has no advantage over the animal. Everything is meaningless. Meaning we all go to the same place. That's said in verse 20. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all return. 21 is a big uncertainty that he's raising. Who knows if the spirit of man rises upward and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? Maybe we can say that no one has gone that side and has come back to tell us what exactly happens. So there is an element of uncertainty, what or maybe how things are going to happen after we die. So but we know that both of us, both animals and human beings, we die and we return to the dust. That is a fact, right? So you get the point. So there is uncertainty on this planet, so we can't avoid that, right? Topic 3 is pleasure. He's writing a lot of verses about pleasure. So we'll read pleasure and achievement together. 3 and 5 together. Okay. Verse 8. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. Superb verse. So we all know that this is true. So we have seen some style or some design. The next time we say, for example, a mobile phone, so the next time we want a phone, we want something better, some more design. Camera should be better. We are talking about 50 megapixels. So I don't know what for. Yeah, etc. So the eye is never satisfied. Okay, so this is beautiful and I'm happy with it for my lifetime. So we are not happy that way. And our ear, we want to hear more. Our ears are itching to listen to new things or listen to interesting things. Some more, I want to know some more. So we are never satisfied. So etc. Okay, so and chapter 2 has a lot of verses. I thought in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. Solomon is somebody who's tried everything, and he's writing after trying everything. So some of us might have tried some things, but this is one person who has tried everything. So he has experienced all kinds of pleasure, but that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is foolish. And what does pleasure accomplish? So yes, we all know, maybe we have some fun, some parties, and the next day we might feel really down. So pleasure is good for that moment, but after that moment, we feel empty. I tried cheering myself with wine and embracing folly, my mind still guiding me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was worthwhile for men to do under heaven during the few days of their lives. Okay, so he couldn't find anything that could cheer him like forever. So it is all momentary. It finishes like soap bubbles. Okay, he's talking about achievement, projects. Now some of us are very work driven or project driven, or some of us cannot sit quietly. So for us, these verses. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself, and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired men and women singers, and a harem as well, the delights of the heart of man. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this, my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my work, and this was the reward for all my labor. Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. So this is a man who is speaking after achieving great things. Most of us, or most the richest of the rich these days, wouldn't even dream of accomplishing such great projects. But he has accomplished a lot. But he still says there is nothing in the end. Okay, I've done all these things, but after that, what? There is nothing. That it's empty. It only gives us emptiness. So there is an end to all these things. There is a limit to the kind of pleasure that we get from all these things. Okay, so yeah, so you get the point. So pleasure and achievement, so they are also like soap bubbles. They finish. They cannot give us eternal satisfaction or ultimate satisfaction. Okay. Topic 4, understanding times. I think I missed. I'm not sure where I marked the verses for understanding times. Okay, maybe I'll read some verses from chapter 3, verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men. Yet they cannot fathom what God has done from beginning to end. This is one of my favorite verses. So it speaks volumes. We can discuss about this, all a lifetime. So God has made everything beautiful in its time. We understand this to some extent. And He has also set eternity in the hearts of men. God wants us to have eternity as a time scale and not just a lifetime as a time scale. But still, we cannot understand what God has done from the beginning to end. So we can see glimpses of what God does. We can see little bit small pieces, bits and pieces of what God is doing in our lives, in others' lives, or in this world, in history. But we cannot, we can't finish the puzzle. So yeah. So I think there are few more verses in Ecclesiastes that talks about this topic, that we don't have, we can't understand fully what God is doing. Correct. Yeah. No. Yeah, maybe there are some more particular verses. It's skipping my mind. Let's go ahead. Yeah. So topic 6 is about wealth. Okay, so that is the golden color. Yeah. chapter 5. Okay, verse 10. Whoever loves money never has money enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with his income. This too is meaningless. How many of us crave for increment, so promotion and increment, so there's never a satisfaction. I mean, we are content for some time, but we start craving. The craving comes, so yeah, as goods increase, so do those who consume them. This is what is economics. There is economics in just one sentence, so we create things, so and we create a need that we can't live without certain things, and we create more things and we create more need, so and it goes on. Okay, so and what benefit are they to the owner except to feast his eyes on them? So we have a nice phone, and so we enjoy looking at the phone, we enjoy taking selfies, and so etc etc. So that's what he's talking about. Yeah, so verse 13. I have seen a grievous evil under the sun, wealth hoarded to the harm of its owner, or wealth lost through some misfortune, so that when he has a son, there is nothing left for him. Yeah, so both these things are sad. Yeah, so some of us we tend to keep wealth. Some of us we might lose wealth. Okay, so it happens. Okay, moreover, when verse 19, moreover, when God gives any man wealth and possessions and enables him to enjoy them, to accept his lot and be happy in his work, this is a gift from God. These are some amazing verses. So some of us do have wealth, and some of us learn to enjoy them also, so and accept what we have and be happy. And he says that this is a gift from God. You can't just have it, so a person who doesn't know God probably might never be stable like this. Verse 20, he seldom reflects on the days of his life because God keeps him occupied with gladness of heart. These are some beautiful verses. Yeah, so these can be and put in other categories also. So yeah, so if we are satisfied in God, if we are glad with God, we seldom reflect on the days. Okay, why did I do that? I should have done that. I should have got this job. I should have gone there. So etc etc. Worry and concern and what ifs. Okay, so chapter 6. I have seen another evil under the sun, and it weighs heavily on men. God gives a man wealth, possessions, and honor, so that he lacks nothing his heart desires, but God does not enable him to enjoy them. And a stranger enjoys them instead. This is meaningless, a grievous evil. Okay, so for some people, God does not give the opportunity to enjoy their wealth. A man may have 100 children and live. Okay, so I'll skip this. Right, so we get the point. So unless it is a gift from God, wealth, so wealth, we might never be satisfied with wealth, and we might just go after wealth. Yeah, but generally wealth is fleeting in nature if we put our pursuit towards acquiring wealth. Right, 7, work, that is brown color. 7, okay, so yeah, verse 3. What does man gain from all his labor at which he toils under the sun? Now we work hard. Some of us, we work very hard. Now what are we working for? What do we gain from all the sacrifice and toil that we put? I've realized from all this that God does not expect us to work as hard as we are working. So we need to get some salary to feed our families, and enjoy Him. So we put it on ourselves to work, slog, and even sacrifice our family time. So that's something not godly. Okay, so verse 17 here. So I hated life because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. And who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool? Yet he will have control over all the work into which I have poured my effort and skill under the sun. This too is meaningless. So our children, so maybe we save a lot for our children, and we will never know, we can never predict if our children will be wise or fools. We wish they are wise, but we can never know. 20. So my heart began to despair over all my toilsome labor under the sun. For a man may do his work with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, and then he must leave all he owns to someone who has not worked for it. This too is meaningless. Okay, 22 and 23. What does a man get for all the toil and anxious striving with which he labors under the sun? All his days his work is pain and grief. Even at night his mind does not rest. This too is meaningless. I think this is a hint for us. So if our work is getting into our sleep or our rest, then it's probably time to check, right? Yeah, so pursuit of work is meaningless. Okay, and topic 8 is injustice. Let's look for something red. Okay, yeah, 4th chapter, 1st verse. Again I looked and saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Comforter. Power was on the side of their oppressors, and they have no comforter. We see this a lot, right? So we see people being oppressed, injustice everywhere. So maybe some of us have faced injustice in our lives. It's there everywhere, so we cannot deny it. Chapter 3, I think, verse 16. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of judgment, wickedness was there. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. So we know that. So often the people who are expected to be fair, so are not fair, or maybe we might be in such a position. Maybe we might, we are in a position to offer fair judgment to people under us, people below us, or people who work with us, but we might be wicked in some ways. So it happens. So we might see it in our own lives. Yeah, and few more verses maybe. Verse 8, chapter 5. If you see the poor oppressed in a district, and justice and rights denied, do not be surprised at such things, for one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still. Yeah, we should always remember this. So yes, there are some people under me, working under me. I am responsible for being fair to them, but I should never forget that there are people above me, and above all is God who is watching over us, right? Yeah, so injustice is there. We cannot deny that in our own lives, and we might be unfair to some of them, so all that happens. Okay, righteousness. So 9, Topic 9 is righteousness. Something blue, sky blue, I think, that color. Okay. I think this we have to go down a little bit. This chapter 7. Okay. In this meaningless life of mine, I have seen both of these, a righteous man perishing in his righteousness, and a wicked man living long in his wickedness. This might be talking about people who take a stand and want to be correct in what they believe and what they stand for, and getting punished for that, or getting killed for that. So it happens often. In India we've seen so many cases, so many people who have lost their lives because they've stood for things. Yeah, and wicked men seem to live long in their wickedness. Okay, so there are some advices from Solomon for this. Do not be over righteous, neither be over wise. Why destroy yourself? So I understand it like this, that only if you are completely wise, we can take a stand on every aspect of life. So we don't understand everything, we don't know everything, we don't see it from all angles. So we understand we have only little light on things. So it's possible that in some cases we may not be able to take a stand unless we know everything. So maybe it's talking about that. So do not be over wise, so meaning do not be over righteous. Okay, on the other contrary, do not be over wicked, and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? So yeah, we're all sinful in some ways, but let's not stray too far. That's something he's saying. Maybe 18, verse 18, it is good to grasp the one and not let go of the other. Okay, the man who fears God will avoid all extremes. So it's just that, not saying I know everything, so, and I'm all wise, I know what I'm doing, so we are not God. So maybe that is what he's referring to. Okay. Yeah, so even righteousness has a limit, so that's what he's saying. So you can't be righteous, so perfectly righteous, because you are not wise enough. Okay, 10, wisdom. So there are a lot of verses on wisdom. We'll read few of them. Verse 13, I devoted myself to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under heaven. What a heavy burden God has laid on men. So Solomon, even though he enjoyed and did a lot of things, wisdom stayed with him. So he was able to watch things. As he did things, his mind stayed back and was watching him do all these things. So, and he was able to see what is happening to man. So his conclusion is, what a heavy burden God has laid on men. This kind of goes back to Genesis, and we can see that it is a curse from God that God has asked us to slog, but we have taken it too far. So because of sin, we have taken it, we have strayed away from God. 16, verse 16, I thought to myself, look, I have grown and increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. So there is nobody as wise as Solomon. I think past, present, future, maybe. 17, then I applied wisdom to the understanding of, then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly, but I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. He says there is a limit to wisdom. You can't get everything. So for with much wisdom comes much sorrow, The more knowledge, the more grief. We all know this. So the more we know things, the more we tend to worry, the more we tend to be concerned about things. Yeah. Okay. Then I turned my thoughts to consider wisdom and also madness and folly. What more can the king's successor do than what has already been done? So you come with some new plans, but you see some sort of that new plan was already tried out in the past. So that's what we saw. It's routine, so there's nothing new under the sun. Verse 13, I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. So yes, there is some. So this wisdom is talking about worldly wisdom, in the sense the wisdom that is to live life here and to manage things, that kind of wisdom. Okay. So he's saying wisdom is better than folly, as light is better than darkness. Yes, there is some advantage. Verse 14 is the favorite verse for my daughter. The wise man has eyes in his head, while the fool walks in the darkness. It doesn't say where are the eyes for the fool. But I came to realize that the same fate overtakes them both. This is amazing, right? So you can be wise, you can be a fool also. It doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter. So you think about it. So yes, maybe you're wise, you manage things well in this earth. So what? It doesn't matter. So, or you think you're a fool, you're not able to be very wise. It doesn't matter, because all of us have the same fate, same end. That means we all die and we go to God. Verse 15. Then I thought in my heart, the fate of the fool will overtake me also. What then do I gain by being wise? I said in my heart, this too is meaningless. For the wise man, like the fool, will not be long remembered. In days to come, both will be forgotten. Like the fool, the wise man too must die. Right? So, yeah, you can read more verses about wisdom. So he says wisdom is also meaningless. Yes, there is a certain goodness in being wise. You have to be wise to manage things, but still, ultimately, before God, it doesn't matter if you're wise or a fool. Okay, verses about satisfaction. So last two things about satisfaction and then about God. We'll read. Look for the green, the darker green. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read, I think, from 24 to 26. These are beautiful verses. A man can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in his work. We already saw some verses related to this. So this too, I see, is from the hand of God. Unless God blesses us with this gift, we won't find satisfaction in what we are doing. We'll be always chasing after the wind. 25. For without God, who can eat or find enjoyment? This is talking about a kind of a stable enjoyment. So it's not momentary pleasure. It is about in the core of our heart having that peace, having that joy. 26 is amazing. It's a joke in Ecclesiastes. So you can go, you can read this verse. I read this verse and laugh. To the man who pleases God, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. That's fantastic. So if we please God, God is going to give us wisdom, knowledge, and happiness, like He blessed Solomon. But on the contrary, to the sinner, He gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth. Why? So the man who does not please God, his job is to gather and store up wealth. Why? To hand it over to the one who pleases God. That's amazing. So if we are interested in pleasing God, it is not our job to gather and store. Who will gather and store for us? The sinners. They will store it for us, and then they're going to give it back to us. That is how God ordained things to be. So superb verse. This too is meaningless, chasing after the wind. So we can conclude from this verse that we should not do both things. So we should not try to please God as well as try to gather and store. Now that's ridiculous. So we have to choose one of them. So we have to choose either to please God and let go of gathering, storing, or we have to gather and store and hand it over to the one who pleases God. Okay, so let's continue to look for the green things about satisfaction. I know that there is nothing better for men than to be happy and do good while they live, that everyone may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all his toil. This is the gift of God. Right? I think that's 22. So I saw that there is nothing better for a man than to enjoy his work, because that is his lot. Okay, I think we read a similar verse. I'll skip that. Okay, I'll read 18. It's slightly different. Then I realized that it is good and proper for a man to eat and drink and to find satisfaction in his toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life God has given him, for this is his lot. Okay, so there is an extra phrase here saying we just live for a few days and be happy, be satisfied. There's one more verse I want to read. Did I miss it? Okay, because we are running out of time, I'll just read this. So if you enjoy spending time with your wife, this is the verse for you. If God asks me, did you fulfill at least one verse in life, I can point to this verse, I think. So this is which chapter? 9th chapter, 9th verse, easy to remember. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun, all your meaningless days. For this is your lot in life and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Right? So nice verse. So your task is to, if you have a wife, enjoy your time with your wife. Right? Okay. So last category about God. So we'll read some verses about God. There are a lot of references about God. We read some of them. Okay, 26 we read. Yeah, this also we've read. Okay, 14. 3:14 I think. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. God does it so that men will revere him. That's ultimate objective of God. Why he does what he does is that we might fear him. We might bow down before him. Okay. Right, so here are two verses. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Go near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools, who do not know what they do wrong. Do not be quick with your mouth. Do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. Solomon has a clear view of who God is. I think some people do not believe this, but I can see that Solomon knows who God is, and uh, you know, even though he tried all things, he still has come back to God, looks like. So he knows who God is. And okay, 12 verse 1, remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. So there are difficult days, tough days coming ahead of us. So it's better that today we remember God and we submit to Him before it's too late for us. There were some nice verses in chapter 11. I'll just read verse 9. I've skipped this. Be happy, young man, while you are young, and let your heart give you joy in the days of your youth. Follow the ways of your heart, and whatever your eyes. I think if the verse stopped here, it would have been fantastic, but I see. But know that for all these things, God will bring you to judgment. So we are free to do whatever we want, but just know that God is going to bring everything into judgment. Okay, the last two verses of Ecclesiastes itself, chapter 12 verse 13. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Conclusion is, fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. Right? So this is the conclusion. So we are called to fear God. And under the sun, so just go to the topics once again. So we are offered all these things. So that these are the things that we are offered. So what are we planning to pursue in this short life that we live on this planet? So I'm just going to list things. So there is routine. So we want to do something new, but God says, or Solomon says, that everything is just routine, in the sense that everything just comes in different forms, but it's there already. So people have seen it already. Okay, there's a lot of uncertainty, so we want to ensure that we have a good retirement life and things like that. But Solomon says there is uncertainty. Don't try to plan in a big way, because only if God decides, you will have a stable life. So if God decides that He wants to touch your life, He can touch you anytime, even if you have planned well. Pleasure, so pursuit of pleasure is meaningless. I think we all agree there. Understanding time, so we don't have full knowledge of things, and we don't understand why God does certain things at certain time. For example, Corona, we don't know why, and we don't even know what. Okay, topic 5 is achievement. So pursuit of achievement is again meaningless. Yes, some of us want to achieve, are driven by that, but let's know that that is like soap bubble. Pursuit of wealth is meaningless. So going after wealth is again meaningless. And there are a lot of ways in which money can topple us, take us away from God. Pursuit of work is also meaningless. There is a reason why God gave us work, and we should limit the purpose there. We should not pursue work beyond what is necessary. And injustice is very much there. So we might seek justice, but Solomon says injustice is everywhere. We might be the cause, or it might happen to us. Righteousness, pursuit of righteousness is also, there is a limit. So he doesn't say that do not pursue, but know that there is a limit. Don't be overwise. Don't claim that you know everything. 10. Wisdom. There is a limit to wisdom. Yes, it's nice to have wisdom, but there is a limit to wisdom. And before God, it doesn't matter if you are a fool or a wise person. No, ultimately, God seeks that we fear Him and not claim that I understand things or have wisdom. That's not the point. That we fear Him. Whether we are a wise person or a fool, we should fear Him. And 11, so this is something positive that Solomon writes, that satisfaction is a gift of God. In whatever we do in the life that we live, if we are satisfied, that is a gift from God. And we finally saw that fear of God is the ultimate expectation from God. So in whatever, God wants us to know Him. So that is what I just wanted to mention, a few points. So I have realized that so entire Bible, entire scripture, as well as Ecclesiastes, points to just one thing, that our whole purpose is to know God, so not to pursue the meaningless things on this planet. So if you feel, or if I feel that following God is difficult for me, then probably we are seeking both the things on this earth and things beyond this earth, or godly things. So 2 Corinthians 4:18 clearly says that we should fix our eyes on the invisible things and not on the visible things. All the things of this planet are visible, so let's not fix our eyes on that. Matthew 11:30, Jesus offers a simple life, so He says, my burden is light, so whatever Jesus offers is plain and simple. It's easy to follow. But if you are complicating it, then we have double desires. Deuteronomy 8:2 is one of my favorite verse. It clearly states that the reason why God took the Israelites across the desert for 40 years, any management person would say that is a waste of time, but God's whole purpose of taking them through is that they may know God. So God's purpose in our life is not to take us from place A to place B, but to give us opportunities every day so that we may know Him. John 17:3, Jesus Himself defines eternal life, that eternal life is knowing God. So I'll stop here. So this is a brief overview of Ecclesiastes. Please, if you have not read this book, study this book. Study, enjoy, and know that every bit of this book is true. Yeah. Thank you.